Newry and Mourne Museum is a small local museum in Newry, run by Newry, Mourne and Down District Council. And like many other local authority museums, has various archival collections that can be mined for research and exhibition purposes. The Eamon Donnelly Collection is an example of a resource that can be used for looking at one perspective of the 1920s period. And in this picture, you can see Eamon Donnelly to the left and his daughter, Eleanor, or Nellie. And the papers in the main were retained by his eldest child, who was Eleanor Nellie. And she had worked with her father on some of his political activities, including seeking his release in 1925. And her son, Donald Donnelly, who came to live in Newry in 1950 with his mother, decided after consultation with his cousins to donate the collection to Newry and Mourne Museum in 2011. Some of the material also belonged to his cousin Sean Donnelly, while there was a small later collection when the catalogue was launched in 2014 by another cousin, Neil McGee. Eamon Donnelly was a prominent nationalist politician in the 1920s and 30s, and Dr. Robert Vaughan, while on his bursary traineeship with us in 2012-2013, catalogued the collection that was donated in 2011 and produced a catalogue of that collection, which is available for people to look at. Now, this bursary traineeship was a collection skills initiative programme, which was a partnership between the Northern Ireland Museums Council and National Museums Northern Ireland, and was funded by the Heritage Lottery Fund. Whenever the catalogue was launched in 2014 in the museum in Newry, it was attended by leading members of Fianna Fáil, including Micheál Martin, and that was because of Eamon Donnelly being a founder member of Fianna Fáil. Eamon Donnelly was born in Middletown in 1877, but spent most of his life in Newry and is buried there. He was a storekeeper at Armagh Asylum and joined Sinn Féin and participated in a attempted rising that took place on Easter Sunday 1916 in Island. Now it was dispersed, but he was arrested and imprisoned in England. He was dismissed from his role in his job, and then he became an organiser for Sinn Féin in Armagh, and later in the general election of 1918 acted as director of elections for Sinn Féin in North East Ulster. The collection contains about 400 documents dating from 1881 to 1972, but a lot of it dates to the 1930s and 40s, which is not relevant to the period in question. It includes correspondence from leading figures including Cara Healy, Michael Collins, Archbishop Mannix, as well as newspapers, cuttings, booklets, pamphlets and photographs. And it can be used in conjunction with other collections, for example, the Cara Healy material that is held by the Public Records of Northern Ireland, Public Records of Northern Ireland, which shows the other side of the correspondence between Donnelly and Healy. It's the same with the Mary McSweeney collection, which is held in the University College Dublin as well. Donnelly was elected by constituencies in both the north and south of Ireland. Armagh 1925 to 29, he was an abstentionist member for the Northern Ireland government then, or the Northern Ireland Executive. Released Offaly 1927 to 33, and Belfast Falls Division 1942 to 44. He was originally a member of Sinn Féin, but joined Fianna Fáil after its formation in 1926. A great organiser, Donnelly served as director of elections for both parties, and as a result of his political convictions and activities, he was imprisoned on a number of occasions. This is an example of some of the documents that is held in the collection. For example, Eamon Donnelly was the chief loan organiser in Ulster for the Doyle Aaron loan, and you can see this is a letter to Eamon Donnelly from Michael Collins. And he says, "I consider that the success of the loan has been in no small way due to your efforts in your own area." He was also involved in setting up the Republican courts, and this document relates to the districts and parish courts in Tyrone, and this letter is from Austin Stack. An example of Donnelly's reports on the Republican courts He says, I've been in Tyrone for the past 4 months and have been all over the county with the exception of Strabane districts. District and parish courts were, I believe, set up throughout my area, but with the exception of one sitting of the Omagh District Court and one or perhaps two sittings of the Gortin Parish Court, these courts have never functioned. Carrickmore Parish Court met once but transacted no business, owing, I heard, to the failure of Messrs Mourne and Hanrahan to attend. So that's again another example of material in the collection. This is an example of one of the Republican Court forms. This one was for the district of South Armagh, but not filled in. Again, there's a number of items relating to Michael Collins. This is a handwritten description of Michael Collins, stamped by the district inspector of the RIC in Mahrafelt, and it was sent to local stations whose sergeants have signed and dated on the reverse of this document before forwarding on to the next RIC station. Eamon Donnelly was, as I mentioned before, a great organiser. He was seen as a brilliant election agent, and there's a lot of correspondence in the collection between Eamon Donnelly and Michael Collins relating to the discovery of Donnelly's address in Newry during this 1921 election campaign and attempts on his life by the IGO gang, which was a group of undercover RIC intelligence agents. He was Northern Ireland, the Union gained 42 out of the 55 seats available. Michael Collins was elected as an abstentionist member for Armagh in that 1921 period. Shortly after the election in September 1921, Eamon Donnelly organised a large rally in Armagh attended by over 20,000 speakers, people at which Michael Collins was the keynote speaker. And this is an example of some of the photographs that are held in the collection. I think they probably were taken by the Irish press. You can see to the left here is Eamon Donnelly, in the middle is Owen O'Duffy, and to the right is Michael Collins. Then you can see another photograph here of Michael Collins on the podium. And between the two poles of the podium there, you can see Eamon Donnelly's wife, Marianne Donnelly. And during negotiations in autumn 1921, which led to the Anglo-Irish Treaty, Donnelly was invited by Collins to come to London to advise the Irish plenipotentiaries on the Northern question, but the illness of his wife Marianne prevented him from going to London. And when the treaty emerged, Donnelly sided with the anti-treatyites in the Civil War. On to the next slide. And this is another one of the photographs taken after that event in September 1921, taken in Armagh outside the City Hall. And in the picture is Seamus O'Reilly, Sinn Féin chairman of Armagh Urban Council. And in the front row, beside Eamon Collins, to his left is Eamon Donnelly, and to the right of Michael Collins is Harry Boland. In 1924, Eamon Donnelly was served with an exclusion order by the Northern Ireland government. And in this, you can see in the background here, this document says, Edward Donnelly, under the Civil Authorities Special Powers Act, Northern Ireland 1922, he is prohibited from entering the counties of Armagh, Down, Tyrone, Fermanagh and Londonderry and the city of Belfast, but Antrim wasn't mentioned. At various stages of his career, Donnelly was arrested, for example, when campaigning in Newry for the candidature of Eamon de Valera as the candidate of South Down in the Northern Ireland election of 1933. He was imprisoned for 1 month. He was also imprisoned at many other times, and you can see here there's a third-class train ticket that was issued by Dalton Bates to Eamon Donnelly at Gorawood, which is just outside Newry, for him to leave and go to Dundalk. And that was after his arrest at a Republican concert held at Derrymacash near Lurgan in 1925. In 1926, Sinn Féin split over the issue of abstention from Dáil Éireann, and Eamon de Valera formed a new party, Fianna Fáil. Donnelly subsequently joined Fianna Fáil, and in fact he had been advocating acceptance of seats in Dáil Éireann for many months, particularly after the failure of the Boundary Commission over the border issue. And he became a leading figure later on in Fianna Fáil. This is a letter from Mary McSweeney to Eamon Donnelly with proposals for an electoral pact between Sinn Féin and Fianna Fáil, which Eamon Donnelly was advocating. This is This is one example of a list relating to the 4th Northern Division Veterans Dublin branch, recording volunteers killed in action in the IRA and Cumbernaban, who died from 1916 onwards. And for each individual, there's a recording of address, date of death, and occasionally place and cause of death. Now, as this was drawn up post 1916, Eamon Donnelly had died in 1944, but this is in the collection as well. On display in the museum is Eamon Donnelly's autograph book, and in that are autographs from various figures of the time: Eamon de Valera, Michael Collins, Kevin Barry, and we've shown an example here of Harry Boland, and that was at that event Eamon Donnelly organised in Armagh in September 1921. So the Eamon Donnelly collection has been fully catalogued, including the later edition in 2014 on the museum database. But the bulk of the material is listed in an exhibition catalogue, which is available on our website. Our website is quite an old website, but there is a lot of useful material there. And we hope to produce an exhibition in the autumn time, What is a Border? And it'll be with a focus on Newry in the 1920s, the economic and political impact of partition in the years that followed as well. And we'll be using the principles for remembering. So we'll be using some of the material in the Eamon Donnelly collection, but it'll be carefully balanced with other material in our collection as well.